My name is Aaron Swart, and I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober since July 14th, 2003. Due to Alcoholics Anonymous sponsorship, a God that was, I was running away from, and actions that I didn't necessarily believe in. My life has miraculously gotten better here. It's pretty amazing. It's funny, so what I'm going to try to do is share with you how I came into a conscious contact with God and how my life has changed as a result of that. But before I do that, I'm going to share with you a little bit about why I was. I always had like a nervous disposition. I was always worried about what somebody was going to say or what somebody was going to think or, why doesn't she like me? Why don't I wear the right clothes? What's wrong with me? I got to have that girl. I can't be friends with these guys. I got to be friends with these guys. And for whatever reason, my head used to always spin like crazy. I don't know if that makes me an alcoholic or what the deal is, but I was always worrying. I used to go to bed at night laying on my back, because I told myself that if somebody came in and stabbed me, it would bounce off my belly versus go straight through my back. I'm just a crazy kid. I don't understand why. It just is, and I have this idea, when I'm, young, and I decided, hey, it's a good idea. Maybe we'll try these beers because, when you see the grown-ups drink, there's just this awe about them. It's like they're in the Gatsby movie, it's like they're having fun, they're laughing at things that aren't funny, they're everybody's getting along, and I'm God, I want to do that because I hate how I feel right now. I literally don't like it. I'm always trying to impress people, I'm always trying to do different things, I'm the class clown when I need to be, I'm the class bully when I need to be, I'm try to be Rico Suave when I need to be, it just, and nothing ever lasted and nothing ever worked. And I tried this, I stole these beers out of the refrigerator and me and my buddy snuck out of the house, and I'm originally from Fargo, North Dakota. And so we were in the middle of a field somewhere and we cracked those beers and I drank my beer. And when I drank mine, about half of it disappeared and my buddy spit his right out. And I remember after I drank those couple beers, this warm sensation. It sucked going down. I hated it. But I had known that it was going to do something for me because I had watched it do something for other people a lot in my life. And so I drank that and as sure as I am here today, I can stand in that field and look up at those stars and remember to myself, it finally fits. It finally fits. I'm no longer worried. I'm no longer scared. I'm right where I need to be. I literally would equate that to the first thing that I've ever had as a spiritual experience. It was like I had an out-of-body experience. I didn't care the girl didn't like me. I didn't care those guys didn't like me. I didn't care that I wasn't the coolest. I didn't care I wasn't the best looking. I didn't care any of that stuff. All I wanted to do from that point forward was feel that way as much as possible. I loved it. Every minute of it. I then when you're in 7th grade, you can't get drunk every single day. You still got to go to elementary school, so it's but it left something for me, and my buddy, who spit it out didn't want his. So of course I drank his and, I never understood. I never understood how he didn't have the same reaction that I had. That began my drinking career. I had a great time. I love drinking. I'm above average intelligence. I'm street smart. I'm not a dumb person. You know what I mean? I'm not. It did something for me. It changed me. It gave me the ability to deal with life. It gave me the ability to engage with people. It gave me the hope and and the idea that my life was going to work out. Like, you ever have those days when you were drinking and all of a sudden it's like the worst day ever? You know, before you had a drink, you wake up, you go to work, somebody yells at you, they don't want anything to do with you, they tell you you're horrible at what you're doing, why do you even get out of bed? This doesn't even make sense. And you go and you have a couple drinks at the bar and you're sitting on the bar stool and you're talking to people and all of a sudden I'm a millionaire. I mean, I got all the money in the world. I'm going to make every decision in the world. I know exactly how it's going to work. I'm going to tell you exactly how it's going to work. And I build this life up in these moments with these guys, my road dogs, the guys that would die for me. You know, the guys that love me so much, they would bail me out of jail. They would do all these things for me. That's what my head would tell me. And we would create these realities while we were sitting in the bar of all these great things that were going to take place, and then wake up the next morning and not remember any of it. You know? It was funny. You know, it was like I used to think that I drank to find solutions to my problems. And then when I would wake up, it was like all the old problems were still there, plus like 4 more. You know, it was like, it just never went away. I'm telling you, like, I drank for effect. You ever have, like, I was the guy, I drank for fun, I drank for mad, I drank for sad, I drank for any emotion I drank for boredom. I drank for sheer, like, just wanting to fit in with everybody else. And then little by slow, things started to get removed from my life. You know, I was drinking all the time as much as I possibly could. I had a chance to have a D1 basketball scholarship, and all of a sudden, you know, cops show up at a party. They decide I'm not supposed to be drinking. School board says no more drinking. You're kicked off the basketball team. Basketball scholarship goes away. So the good guy that I am, I write this heartfelt letter about how it was a one-time mistake, and I swear I will never do it again. And I had the principal and the school board and a lawyer and my family and everybody sitting around a circle in a room. And I read this letter crying. Would have passed a lie detector test saying I will never drink again. You know what, Aaron? We believe you. Tell you what, come back in 5 weeks and we'll tell you if we've reconsidered our decision. So on the 4th week, we're so close to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I'm already home. You know, like I'm close to it. It's like I've done good the first 2 weeks. I had a couple drinks the 3rd week, but you know, the 4th week, have a couple of the boys over. Mom's going to a movie. Have a couple of the boys over. We'll drink in the basement. We'll call it a day. Everything's going to be fine. The problem is I just don't have an off switch. So like, I just go real fast. You know, like, I was gonna like time it out. I don't know if anybody else had this experience, but I was gonna time it out. You know, it's like 1 beer and then shot and then chill for an hour. And then 1 beer and maybe a shot depending on how I was feeling. Cause you know, I hadn't really been drinking for 3 weeks, so I didn't really know. And after that beer and shot went down, I realized it'll be fine tonight. It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna have fun. It doesn't make any sense. And, you know, bad breaks, misunderstandings, and people hating me. That's why I got caught that night. You know, that's the story of my life. Just a bad break, bad circumstance. This cop hated me. I'm like thoroughly convinced. I've made amends to him still, but, he showed up at my door. There was 4 people in my house. He showed up at my door. Here's my smart idea. I turn off all the lights and I send my little brothers outside. Just tell them you got a little crazy with the music. It'll be fine, you know, and so, you know, you guys can figure the rest of the story out. There wasn't another meeting to reconsider the actions. You know what I mean? It was like it was all over. And so, you know, because Fargo, North Dakota had it out for me, the cops had it out for me, the school board had it out for me, my mom and dad didn't understand. Nobody wanted to see Aaron kind of rise to what he was true potential. You know, it was time for a change of scenery, so I decided to move to Scottsdale, and the basketball that was going so well for me, forget that. I'm going to try football. It's going to, I just changed everything. I snapped it, forget the fact that anything is wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. It's the outside world and how you handle what I bring to you. That's the situation. And so I'm just going to change all of you. I'm going to change every single one of you. And I went down there, and all of a sudden I realized I drink different. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. I drink like a pig. I mean, I go out with a good idea. I'll go out on a date, and I'm having 2 or 3 drinks at dinner, and then all of a sudden I'm like, 12 in, slurring my speech, going to the bathroom every 3 minutes, looking at her. She's dull. I'm like getting a fight with her so that I can go and have fun with these other guys. And then it's like, yeah, she didn't understand, she just didn't want to see Aaron's world the way Aaron's world was. And for a long period of time, I had a lot of fun. I really did. I don't take back any of those days. I had a lot of fun. School didn't go very well. Football didn't go very well. My roommates all wanted to move out because I was going absolutely crazy, coming home at 4:00 in the morning with random people screaming all the time. So I thought my life was perfect. All I needed to do was get a little bit more money. So what I decided to do was go to some of the local markets, pick up some of the local, crop and bring it across state lines. And, I get to Nebraska and some guy pulls me over and he decides to, search the car. And, my life changed at that point in time. But, my dad came and he bailed me out of there. It cost a lot of money to do that. I was in some serious trouble, and he bailed me out of there. And, he brought me home and I got to stay in his house, but, they only found about half of what was really in there. And so, I'm coming home, I'm drinking beers out of the refrigerator, I'm getting high, I'm doing all the things, I'm just partying in my dad's house. Meanwhile, I just got taken out of jail, having no idea how serious this is whatsoever. And I go down for an arraignment, and the guy reads the 5 to 55 years in prison. And all of a sudden, I got a little nervous, So I'm going to go on the run. And that's exactly what I did. I told my dad, you don't know me. There's nothing this is my life. Stay out of it. I'm doing my thing. He threw me out of the house. I'm like a spoiled, I never really thought this at the time, but I'm like a spoiled brat. I got a phone, I got a car, I got money. I've never really worked a day in my life. You know what I mean? And I got all this stuff. And so he chucks all my clothes in the middle of January in Minnesota out into the middle of the snow. And he said, get out. Get out of here. So I did. And I went rip roaring into life like it wasn't even like I was invincible. Trying to prove everybody that my idea of what Aaron's plan was going to be was perfect. So what I proceeded to do was get drunk every single day for 6 months. Waking up in the morning with these big grand designs of how exactly I'm going to get my life together. I'm going to get a car. I'm going to go out and get a job. I'm going to, I'll call my folks just so they know that everything is going well. I'll do all these things just so they know that everything's going well. Get some money coming in so I can stop couch surfing and occasionally sleeping in the park. I'll get all these things going so everybody sees that I'm doing really well, and that I'm convinced, I am thoroughly convinced to do this. And I'm still feeling up about my life. Everything's going to be fine. Everything is fine. It's all good, right? And what starts to happen is I make that effort in the morning and something goes wrong and that thought comes across my mind. I can just do all this crap tomorrow. And then I would go out and I would drink. And I would get so drunk, I would pee myself or puke myself, and I would come home and by that time I have exhausted all the relationships in my life. So nobody really wants me around. The girl broke up with me. My friends don't want me around. No, I'm just I'm trouble. Everywhere that I go, I'm I'm just trouble. And, I used to sneak into this basement where my buddies lived, And it was concrete, and there were like blankets I just threw them up into the corner, and it was damp, and it was like literally this building was probably built in like 1930, and I swear the basement was never cleaned. There was like a bathroom down in the basement where there was like a dilapidated mirror up on the wall. There was the light that would flicker behind you, and there was a rickety sink that was sitting there, and I used to drink till I would get physically so sick. I would wake up in the morning and I would go and I would look at that dilapidated mirror at the husk of a person that was like looking back at me. And I would promise I didn't want to quit forever. I just wanted to stop so that I could get my life back on track. Right? And that started the process of slowly ripping away every piece of moral fiber that I had ever had inside myself. Because it's one thing for me to lie to everybody else. But like, who you lying to when you're all by yourself? Who was I sitting there I was so furious. I would look back at that dilapidated mirror and I would try to, that light flickering behind me, and I'd grab both sides of those sink and I'd be dry heaving, and I'd look up at that mirror and I'd say, I am never going to do this again. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to be a good son. I'm going to be a good member of the community. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to do all these things, right? And I just try to rip the sink out of the floor. I was so mad. And I would set out to do those things during the day. And then all of a sudden, it's like something doesn't go my way. The boys will call. I'll put that thought out of my mind. Might as well just do this all over again. I don't know. I had no idea what was going on. I was so scared because it was like I didn't even know who I was anymore. It really freaked me out. So I had a bit of a mental breakdown. I don't know. Have you ever seen a grown man hit the floor and start screaming for his mom? That's exactly what I did. I tell you, it's pretty funny now, but it was sad then. It took me a long time to start laughing at this. But I had shown up at some place that I wasn't wanted. You ever go to places and people look at you, you haven't showered in a while, and they're like, why is he here? You can feel him whispering in the corners, and I'm stealing beer out of the refrigerator and I'm drinking, and all of a sudden it's not working. I can't get the relief. I can't get my present circumstances out of my life. I can't get my brain to slow down. I'm getting physically wasted, and I cannot get the feeling that it's going to be okay. I can't get the feeling. I just can't get the thoughts off me. Everything piled up so high, it just felt like it was too much to take on. It was over. I was thinking, man, if this doesn't work, let's just end it. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm laying on the ground. I'm so fit, I can't even get up, but I'm screaming at people to bring me more beers because I just desperately want it to go away. Go away, go away. I peed myself by this point. I'm looking at people trying to make jokes of how funny it is that I'm peeing myself. And I wake up from that spot and I'm struck sober, and I hit the ground crying. So here's a guy, 19 years old, hits the ground crying, pissed pants, puke all over him, screaming, I want my mommy. It was pretty comical. I think I scared the crap out of everybody in the room because it was I just popped too. You know what I mean? It was crazy. And I was crying uncontrollably, and I wanted my mom because that's what tough guys do. They want their mom whenever they get in trouble, they want their mom. So I get to my mom's house. My mom looks at me and says, son, I think you're gone. You know what I mean? I don't think I don't know what to do for you. Tell you what, Mom, just give me a place. Let me get my life right. She said, you can't stay here. So what she did was she arranged for me to stay with a friend of mine, a friend of the family. So I stayed with that family for 3 days. Now, my poor family. I went crazy. Now here's the problem. Drinking had gotten bad, but sober is you just can't tolerate it. Because I have this thing inside of me, right? The voice, the thing that tells you that life isn't okay. Why don't you have a job? You're never going to have a job. You're never going to drink again. Nobody's ever going to be your friend again. What are you going to do when you get married? You're not going to drink. You're not going to toast. Nobody's going to want to marry you. You can't get a job because nobody's going to drink with you. And if you don't drink with people, people aren't going to want to hang out with you. You pace, you smoke cigarettes, you're walking around outside. You're like, why is that person looking at me? I don't have the right clothes on. I haven't showered in a little bit. I need a haircut. This doesn't make sense. I don't know what I'm doing. If I would have gone left instead of right, if I would have gone here instead of there, if I would have stopped dating her and started dating her, my life would have been better. I wouldn't be here. Why am I here? It doesn't make sense. I'm uncomfortable. I'm hungry. I'm ripping through the cabinets. I don't understand why I can't get something to eat. So I'll just go to bed. If I go to bed, it'll go away. And tomorrow when I wake up, I'll be fine. And then all of a sudden when I go to bed, the volume gets turned all the way up. You're a loser. You're never going to amount to nothing. This doesn't make any sense. You're never going to get there. You know you're going to drink. It doesn't matter. Why even stop? You're just lying to people. Just cut it off and leave everybody alone. You know what? You should just go to prison. Turn yourself in. Raise your hand. Tell them it's over. It doesn't even make sense anymore. Why go on? Why go on? Get up. Smoke 2 more cigarettes. Oh my gosh. What am I going to do? I don't understand. And then all of a sudden that goes on for 3 days and I'm bananas. I'm not sleeping. I'm nuts. I can't sit still. I'm pacing everywhere. My hands are going crazy. I don't know what is wrong with me. If this is sober, I don't want it. Take it someplace else because this just ain't for this guy. I got plans. Right? That's the deal. I got plans. I got things to do. So, I got there on a Wednesday. I stayed sober through Friday. Got some of my old buddies, the guys that weren't there at the end when I was like puking myself and stuff, the guys that I used to play basketball with, they called. And they asked me, hey, you want to come out? We're having a barbecue. Pure sobriety is overrated. So I said, you know what? 132 a Heineken. 132 a Heineken will be okay. Let me tell you. I went to that barbecue. As soon as I made that decision that I was going to take that drink, my head shut off. Wasn't mad anymore. I went and I got that 132 a Heineken. I had a great evening. I nursed it over an hour and a half. It took discipline, but I did it. And I had a great time. I met a lovely young lady. We spent the evening together. This is what my new life is going to be. It's going to be perfect. It'll be fine. Went home, slept great. Woke up the next morning. Friday went so well. Let's do it Saturday. 2 32s of Heineken. Did the same thing, had a great time, met the same nice young lady, had a great evening. Everything was perfect. Guys were hanging out. It's like the good old days came back. Sunday is just a barbecue. And Monday we're really, Monday's the day. Monday is the day. So it's like, let's go and do this again. I don't want to push it beyond 2 because, I just don't want to get too greedy. I want to live in this lifestyle now. And so I drank 2 32s of Heineken in about 45 minutes, and I scavenged the medicine cabinets just for something to take the edge off because, it's like pills were never really my problem. So it's totally fine. I just don't want to get weird. I started getting itchy. You ever get that feeling? It's like it's just not enough in the engine to get it going. It's like I'm just a car that won't start. It's like everything's there, but it's just like I just don't have any gas. So, Monday's the day. Now, back in the day, if I was up, showered, and out of the house before noon, that meant it was going to be a good day. So I wake up at 11:30. I get showered, and I'm out the door at 11:59. I'm going to go get a job. I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to change my life. So I go to the local convenience store because, really, at the end of the day, I should be able to get a job at the convenience store. I thought very highly of myself, and, I was just wanted to make sure that I could get this job. This fear of rejection because I was convinced the world was out to get me. And so I went out there and I interviewed with this guy and he started asking some hard questions in the last 2 years. That's not a fair interview question. If I Google your name, what's going to come up? That's really not a fair question. Fargo was a small place, so people had an idea of what kind of trouble I was in, but This guy like shined me on for 2 hours, and then he decided to come back and say, you know what? We don't have a job for you. So, same thought crossed my mind. I'll just do this tomorrow. 18 pack of Coors Light, gram of cocaine up my nose. I come to in the middle of the living room beating the brakes off somebody. I mean, blood everywhere. People screaming. No idea how I got in there. Scared me so bad. Scared me. I mean, like literally, I was just covered in blood. No idea how I got in there. Just thought I was going to have a couple pops with the guys and call it a day. Just kind of like, brush off a bad day. So for the first time in my life, I threw my hands up in the air and I said, I have no idea how I got in here. None whatsoever. And it was like, right after I said that, all of a sudden these crazy things started to happen in my life. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that. It's like, I told the truth. All of a sudden it's like, everybody swarmed in to help Aaron. It's like, okay, here we go. We're going to do this. I was beat down. I was just ready to kill myself because at the end of the day, everything that I'd ever thrown at this problem was of no avail. I couldn't get there. I could never get across the finish line. Towards the end, I couldn't even get anything that resembled anything like progress. Those 3 days were the best that I was going to do. And if those 3 days were what was in store for me, no thank you. And I went and I got some help and I got separated from alcohol for the last time. And all of a sudden I'm arguing with like professionals about all this stuff and how I'm so different. And then this dude came in and he like told my story, and I engaged for the first time in my life in what Alcoholics Anonymous was. My life was over. I had nothing. I was still on the run from that drug charge. And I was running around doing all this stuff, and here I am in this treatment center. Nobody understands who I am and what I'm doing, and I got all this stuff figured out. I drink like this because of the circumstances in my life. You people just figure out how to leave me alone and I'm going to be fine. You don't understand that? This guy came in, he split me right between the eyes. You drink because you don't know why you drink. You drink for no matter what reason. You ever have that feeling where your head spins? See, we laugh about it here. Like, you talk about how your head talks at you. Before, I literally was afraid to tell people that because I thought it was I might be insane. I never really realized that, like, you can have voices inside your head at one time telling you to do a multitude of irrational things in your life. You open your mouth like that in a psychiatrist's office and all of a sudden it's like, yo, we need to get some medicine on this guy, This guy talked about that. He shared about what was really going on and it planted the seed. And I went to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting and I saw a bunch of people that it scared me because it's like they're having fun. Everything's fun. He's smiling and, it's all fun. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, I don't fit here. This doesn't make any sense. And then people talk and it's like, God, this stuff kind of makes sense. It's a little hocus pocus, but it makes sense. When I listen to this guy and, lo and behold, I start to see people that I'm with start to get better. Life starts to get better. They start graduating from these places and their parents buy them BMW X5s. And I'm like, God, I want to get in this program. So I want to I'm going to get everything right. Like, isn't that right? Like sobriety's cash and prizes. That's what I'm being told. It's like, this is how I'm going to get a good job. This is how my life is going to work. Everything is going to be perfect. And all of a sudden I meet this guy and I ask him to go have coffee and I sit down with him and I had a problem because he's laughing. We're exchanging kind of like, what it was like and what we came from, but there was a difference. This guy had a ring on his finger. He drove a nice car and he had 3 kids and then he had a house and a job. And I'm staying in a place that I'm lucky to have a bed at. And listen, if you're new in Alcoholics Anonymous and you don't want to stay here, don't ask this question. We were talking for like half an hour, talking, just, about the good old days. It was a lot of fun, to be honest, reminiscing and everything else. And then, something took a little bit of a turn. He just said, yeah, until my luck ran out. And it was like, no matter what I did, my life just seemed to become more of a mess. And I got that. And I looked at him and this is what you don't ask. What did you do to change? I've never seen somebody smile so big in my life. Scared me. That's what I'm here to show you. And I was like, oh man, close that door. And he said, you know what? Do something for me. Prove me wrong. Do everything that I ask you to do and tell me your life doesn't objectively get better. And so that's what I did. I was a pain in the butt in Alcoholics Anonymous, coming around here telling everybody what was wrong, why it was wrong, what they weren't doing right, how they should do and live their life differently. About 2, 3, 4 months sober, and I would call this guy and I'd tell him about all the problems that I was having. You know, the court cases are here. It's so complex. The girlfriend problems are here. My family doesn't love me. This doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna die. Blah, 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 blah. I know I just have some terminal disease. I mean, it was like all these times I would call him up and I would just lay it out every single time about everything that was wrong, and he would just go, and then he would say, Aaron, there's a solution here for you in Alcoholics Anonymous. If you can focus on putting your energy and effort into these actions that I'm asking you to do, these other things will get better. And it's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense. Go to a meeting of AA. I got a court case. Go to a meeting of AA. I got problems with my girlfriend. Do the steps. My family doesn't like me. Do the steps. I'm in trouble with these guys because they don't really like me in the treatment center. Pray. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, my solution to life is, it's what I've been taught my entire life. If I have a problem, try harder, do more, get there. No matter what, try harder, do more, and you will conquer whatever problem is in front of you, you will conquer it. That is what has been embedded in me in my entire life. And this guy put up with so much crap. And I did a 4th and a 5th step with him, knowing that it wasn't going to work. And it just changed. I went through the motions. 3rd step, yep, whatever. Something's up there. Sure. And yeah, obviously I have a problem with drinking, and obviously my life is unmanageable. When you're new, it's fun because it's easy to point out the things that are massively unmanageable. But the fact of the matter is if somebody looked at me incorrectly, I would go on a tailspin for weeks. It was that's how fragile I was. You know what I mean? It's this guy put up with so much stuff, and I did that 4th and 5th step, and it's this light. Literally the lights just came on in my life. God meant something to me. Life changed. The meetings that I was going to and the people that I was harassing all of a sudden started to mean something to me. Alcoholics Anonymous started to mean something to me. I realized that, all these court cases and everything else was going to be there. It's all right, I got it. Ready for the cash and prizes. You know what I mean? I'm ready for life to matter. I'm ready to take it all on. All these people and everything else is going on in their lives, and I'm really little by slow going to a meeting every day, washing dishes. Listen, washing dishes in a place that served eggs in pans. And so I would be sitting scrubbing those egg pans, saying the 3rd step prayer 50 times, just please get me out of here. I would everything, going to 2, 3 meetings a day, going nuts, these court cases coming at me, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm ready for the cash and prizes. Let it come. And I would call them with new sets of problems and new sets of circumstances. And I would say, this just doesn't make any sense. Why does this not make any sense? My life is supposed to be getting better. And then 6 months at sobriety, I get a phone call. It's my brother dies. The day after we buried my brother, God rest his soul. I don't talk about this a lot, but the day after we buried him, I get indicted on another felony charge. 2 weeks after that, I get sentenced on the first felony charge, and I have to go sit in jail for a little bit of time. And where's the cash and prizes? I don't understand. New sobriety. Guys that are new in sobriety, let me tell you something. The gift's in the struggle. The gift is in the struggle. Because what are a set of principles if they don't withstand during challenging times? What's a fellowship if they don't withstand during challenging times. Listen, I went to my brother's funeral. One guy showed up. It was a guy that I met in AA. None of my buddies that were sitting at those parties talking about how great life was going to be showed. He showed. I went to court the next day. About 4 guys from AA showed up for me there. Right? I went to jail for 90 days. And they read me letters. Alcoholics Anonymous wrote me letters every single day. None of those guys wrote me letters. You know? It's funny, like, come in here, you got an idea of what you want your life to be. I came into Alcoholics Anonymous. I had a girlfriend, I was determined to get her back. Wanted her back so bad. I was planning everything in my life around it. Even through the jail and through everything else, that was going to be my prize. I don't know if anybody else had this experience. You hold on to one thing. One thing's going to be mine. And, I can even put myself in the place where she came and she finally came back. And I remember looking back at her and saying, I don't want this anymore. Thank you. And walking away. Alcoholics Anonymous, fundamentally changed the wiring inside of me. It didn't change. I want to take that back. Alcoholics Anonymous didn't change the wiring inside of me. It gave me a new circuit to live on. Right? Because that beast is still in there. I ask some people that cross me every once in a while. It's like this guy, I'll just come out of nowhere. And it's like, wait, you're normally a nice guy. And now all of a sudden you freak out. And it's like, people want to know why you're freaking out. It's like, well, it's not all the way gone. I still make a lot of mistakes, it's not perfect, still sponsored, make amends on a regular basis. It's the way that it goes. But I signed up for a life here, in Alcoholics Anonymous. I started doing this thing. I started learning what it was to give back. I found purpose. My soul finally filled up. I did steps. I know. I'll tell you a couple of amends stories. It's like cash and prizes. That's the deal. Nobody wants to cut the checks. It's like my sponsor's notorious for this. You pay back all the money. I hate that. So stupid. If anybody ever tells you they are really excited to cut that last check, they just know because it's the last time they got to dip into their own money to pay other people the money you stole from them. I mean, it's this bittersweet thing, but I got a funny story. My father and my mother both loved me very much. They were great people. And, when I came in, I was really a mess. I told the abbreviated version, but I had a bunch of people that were trying to kill me, some Mexican mafia guys that were trying to kill me. And, so I got a phone call at this treatment center that nobody really knew where I was at. And they said, hey, we're going to hurt your family. We're going to hurt your brothers if you don't pay this money back. And I was like, all right, I got to go back. I got to go back and I got to take care of this once and for all. My dad was like, no, I'm going to go and pay all these guys. So my dad goes into these drug dens and is cutting checks and laying cash out for these guys. It's crazy. I don't know why he did it. But anyway, so he's doing this stuff. And, I get sober for a while and it was a lot of money. You know what I mean? A lot of money for a guy like me and who has nothing. So, I finally put some pennies in the bank and I was like, I owe these guys, these men, this money. And I had made multiple attempts to make payments and all that stuff. And my dad and my mom were like, no, your life isn't good. So I'd finally gotten situated where I was go and pay that money. So I go to my mother and they split it. So I go to my mother and I give her the check and she's like, okay, thanks. And she just took it. No problem. I go to my dad. My dad's like, no, son, you take it. It'll be fine. And I'm like, I call my sponsor and my dad's like, I don't have to pay him. He's like, you just leave the check. So I said to him, listen, Dad, I'm just going to leave this check for you. If you decide you want to cash it, I'll make sure there's balance in there that can handle withdrawal and everything will be fine. Nah, I don't want it, Aaron. I really don't want it. The next morning at 6 a.m., now, my family normally doesn't get up this early. Okay, this is really out of the blue. And he's so excited. He goes, I started thinking about that money. And if it's really okay, I'm going to cash that check. And, I just started thinking of the things that I could do with it and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, Dad, you can have that money. 8:00 in the morning, that cash he deposited that check. Something changed between me and my father at that point in time. It's funny because it's still very much father-son, but it's no longer dependent son. And so now it's like the air is really clear. Like, how do you know if something's on you if you've never experienced it off you? So I made that amends. It was crazy. It was one of the most surreal things. I don't know. It's probably not very big to anybody else, but I just like God moving in that space. It's crazy. I talk about a little bit about, so I got sober and then, I decided, I really struggled with this when I first got sober. It was like, I just had these jobs like mowing lawns and like, cleaning dishes and stuff like that. And everybody else that got the X5s and like went to school and like went to take over the world ended up drunk. And I was this guy who was just like ground into Alcoholics Anonymous. I was going to so many meetings. I mean, you ever have those obnoxious friends that are like, let's go to a meeting. Let's go to a meeting. Let's do this. There's this and this and this and this. I was that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I was the guy that like anybody needed a ride anywhere, just call Aaron. It's like, literally it was like whatever came up. I wanted to be there and I wanted to be in the center of it. And, I struggled with the idea of like trying to like, should I like push myself? Am I going to get greedy if I want to go to school? Am I going to get greedy if I want to do these things? And my life, as a result of doing the steps and like walking through that fear, like my life has taken on like crazy meaning, right? Because I've lived in like 10 different places throughout the course of my sobriety. I've got to meet some really cool people and I've got to do some amazing things in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's nuts. You get to sponsor people, you get to do things. Like if you buy into Alcoholics Anonymous, like I bought into Alcoholics Anonymous, all the other stuff works out. Everything works out. Like you take a guy that was like not capable of going on like 2 dates with the same woman and you like get him married to the most wonderful person in the world. It's like, it's not of myself. You take a 2-time felon and you put him in corporate America and all of a sudden watch him excel. It's not of myself. But those aren't the things, like, I don't want to get hung up on that because everybody's circumstances are different. The thing that I want to say that my experience has shown me is that nothing in Alcoholics Anonymous is impossible. That God is big enough for all of it. It's just how much am I willing to trust that God is going to take care of it? How much am I willing to put myself in the wheelbarrow day in and day out, shake the new guy's hands, get to know people, get a commitment at a home group, get a commitment in an H&I, committee, listen to my sponsor, even though that I'm convinced the man is wrong. Does my life stay on this path? It's funny. You get sober for a little bit, you do this thing and the less you know. But, from the guy that was sitting in the spot where it was like I used to sit there afraid for anybody to talk to me. I used to sit there convinced that I was different than everybody else. Little circumstances, little just family stuff, little financial stuff, little material world. Those things would always separate me from everybody else. I hated people. I did. I hated people. And I stuck out my hand, and even though I hated people and I couldn't remember people's names, I started doing it and I started to feel better. I don't know. These actions in Alcoholics Anonymous, they don't change. It's funny. I went through a period of time. I moved out to Seattle. Actually, when I moved out to Seattle, I had a really hard time. So I was I was in New York City, and I was going to a ton of meetings, going to Rikers Island every other weekend, like big meeting like this every night of the week, having a good time. Came out here, AA's different, Rain's terrible, nobody likes me, it doesn't make sense, it's not gonna work, why does this, this doesn't even make sense anymore. And I just went. I just showed up. Man, if anybody understands the battle of your head, let me tell you, I do. But mine is trying to kill me. I don't know why, it just is. I wanna, it's funny because the other thing that I've been thinking a lot about, like, what it means to be alcoholic, right? Like, a lot of times, like, we come in and, like, everybody clings to those circumstances and they want to know, like, what it is. Like, just give me a clear definition if I am or if I'm not. I'm working with a guy right now and all he wants to know is whether or not he is or he isn't. I just want to read this. Characteristics of the now this is from Daily Reflection, so for all of you purists out there, it's conference approved. So if you want to burn me at the stake later, please feel free to do that. Characteristics of the so-called typical alcoholic is a narcissistic, egocentric core, dominated by feelings of omnipotence, intent on maintaining at all integrity. Inwardly, the alcoholic brooks no control from man or God. The alcoholic is and must be the master of his destiny. He will fight to the end to preserve the position. What's my job? Surrender to that. When I am in control of my life, all of those things are in motion. I'm narcissistic. I'm egocentric. And my way is the only way that it's going to work. I got time for this story. It's going on right now, so it's super current. I love it. Like, I always tell my sponsor he never shares what his current things are from when he talks, so I'm going to do it. Maybe he'll get the tape and not love it, but needless to say. But we just moved to San Francisco or South Bay, and we're staying in temporary housing, and I hate it. And we were supposed to get into our place, but there was rain that came there. So just so you guys know, in California, they don't build places like here. They build it as if it's never going to rain there. And the rain came in and there was about 2 inches on top of the ceiling, and so it they've got to go in and repair it all. And so we're trying to put together the plans for the next 2 weeks, and great opportunity for me to take control of the situation and get in there and start ripping people around, that's what I'm good at. So I get in there and start moving all the pieces around. And I'm so narcissistic I just can't stop thinking about it. Well, if we did this and we did that and we're going to go here and we're going to do this. And if anybody has a suggestion to make about it, it's not good enough. No, it's got to be this way. Yet I can't even make up my mind on which way it's going to go. And if it isn't my own destiny, then it's not the right way to do things. So yet I'm in direct conflict with the apartment building, who is only trying to help, my wife, who is only trying to help, the movers, who are only trying to help, and the temporary housing, who are only trying to help. And I've got this just storm, convinced that it's never going to work out and we're not going to have any place to live. And why am I even here? And I run out of so much steam. I'm running full speed ahead of, we should just move back to Seattle. It doesn't even make sense to be here anymore. And I come to that place after I run out of steam, and I call my sponsor, and he laughs at me for 10 minutes. And then, he reminds me that when I'm in control / entitled, I'm in direct conflict with the grace and the power that is here. People want to know why people stay. 25 years, 30, 40, 50 years, going around all over the place. A, because that stuff still happens. But B, what if somebody wasn't there to talk to me? What if nobody thought it was their job to stick their hand out and talk to me? It's funny because sometimes we can get so methodical in the steps and in the readings. This is what it says right here. But it's a real experience that nobody can argue with. Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life. You can't take that away from me. Maybe I read the book different. Maybe I have opinions different. But that's the core. That is the core of what holds us all together. And the hope that whoever's out there in whatever grip can get help too. It's not my job to be judge, jury, and executioner. It's my job to be an instrument. Sometimes that's pointing somebody else to a different place. And sometimes that's being inconvenienced in my life, just as I inconvenienced that man multiple times and still inconvenience people. I believe the heroes in Alcoholics Anonymous that are mine are the guys that show me that ethic on a daily basis. They believe it to their core. I love AA. We have fun here. New guy, you see everybody laughing about all these things that were going on and like laughing at some of the bad things that happened to me. There's an earnestness here. There's a belief here. And there's proof here that Alcoholics Anonymous works under any circumstances. Whether she comes or she goes, you got the job or you don't. You can get sober here and you can live a different life. I'm grateful to be here, grateful to be sober. With that, I'm going to pass.